Okay. Okay. Today we're going to start on 29b at the Mishnah, correct? I think so. Yeah. Matzah Svarim. Yeah. Can we thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day in this Chosef Adayim, which is the base of Migdash, and learning in the memory in the Lili Nishmas, Zahab Golda, Baruch Binyamin, and whoever needs to refer Shleima. Okay. Mishnah says like this: Matzah Svarim. Someone finds scrolls. That's the way books were published. There was no publishing. Books were written. Matzah Svarim. Then you should read from those books once in 30 days. Good morning. If you don't open them up and read from them, then they start to get moldy, and it's a problem. So you have to air it out sort of once in 30 days. You're going to see later that that's going to be the opinion.
What kind of sforim that is? They didn't have books like we used to have, bounded with paper. So these were probably more Megillas.
Yeah, it would look like a Megillah.
Yeah.
In the Hanukkah play, these are the books that they're running around with, hiding from the Greeks. Yeah, scrolls. So they had to air it out. Vimini Idealikris, they had to read from it. I mean, Idealikris in Golan. If they don't know how to read, then they just roll it, which is good for the airing it out. But you can't learn a topic the first time from these scrolls. You also can't, and the reason for that is because that's going to take you a long time. And what happens if does it get ruined if it takes a long time? I'm not sure. Probably. And you can't have someone else read together with you. That's a concern because you might end up pulling it. This one pulls it this way, this one pulls it that way. What's a ksus? Someone finds a garment. So you air it out once in 30 days. You have to shake it out. You're allowed to spread it out, but for its own good, but not for your own honor. As if you have guests coming, you can't just take it out to show that you have fancy tablecloths or something like that. So that you have colors. But you can only do this for it's good. Okay. You don't want to make sure that the moths don't get it. Silver and copper vessels. You can use them for their own good, but you can't use them in a way that they're going to be worn out. That means, doesn't say specifically how that would happen. Just a lot of time. Over a lot of time, it would wear it down. Yeah. If it's golden vessels or glass vessels, so for that, that you should not use, because those vessels don't get ruined if you keep them underground, and when you use them, they will get ruined. So it's better for you not to use them at all. Gold and glass. What's a sake kupa? You find a sack or a box or anything that's not appropriate for this person here to be carrying in the street, then he doesn't have to take it. We're going to learn about that as well. It's called Zakin Vein Al-Fich Vaida. If he's a sage and it's not honorable for him to carry a mattress through the street or something. Here it's talking about just a sack of something. Okay, Amar Shmuel comments. So someone finds tefillin in the marketplace. So some demand mini chanalter. Immediately, you can sell them, and you put the money, you put the money aside. You don't wait for 30 days to roll it and not roll it. And so, Masav Ravina. Ravina says that Shmuel was talking about tefillin. Ravina says Ravina says that if you find, Ravina asked the question, quoting our Mishnah, says if you find scrolls, you have to read from once in 30 days for many and if you don't know how to read, then you just roll it. Rolling it is going to be beneficial for it. You roll it, but you don't. It doesn't say you sell it right away. Why by tefillin does it say that you sell it immediately? And by a scroll, which tefillin is also a scroll, it says that you have 30 days and you roll it, and you just roll it every once in 30 days. Oh, very good. Amar Abaya, very good. Shalom got the answer. Amar Abaya says tefillin bei barchavo mishkach shchichis from leshchichis. We don't want you to sell the svarim because you won't be able to get another one. But the tefillin are much more common, and so if you sell it, you'll buy another pair. Tefillin is very common, but the books are not so common. Tefillin because everyone needs it, and the svarim people can get away without it. They'll get it from the library.
So they open tefillin every
Can a sefer in this case also mean a sefer Torah?
Possibly, yeah.
Because it's the same. The airing out is primarily because of parchment.
Right.
So theoretically, I mean, people are finding sefer Torah on the street. But
I think all the scrolls back then were on parchment.
Right.
So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So apparently tefillin is something that's common, and it's easy to sell it and to buy it back. But the svarim, the guy doesn't want his svarim sold. He's not going to find another one. There's only one copy of a tzayisachation. You disagree, Reb Naftali?
I think this logic is a little dubious, honestly, because tefillin someone needs every day. So it's likely that he's going to come looking for it right away. Oops, I found it at 2:00 and I sold it at 3:00. Too bad. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
You're talking about for the tefillin to sell it.
The tefillin to sell it right away, but it's also true that the person's not going to go more than 24 hours normally without knowing he lost it. Whatever.
They have different options here. One option is maybe they didn't wear tefillin every day. Not everyone wore the tefillin every day. Remember that Smog, he says people were very lax in tefillin, and he went around and he encouraged people to wear tefillin. We were talking about 800 years ago. Oh. Showing you pictures of old tefillin. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other option is that tefillin, the way we look at tefillin, very sentimental. Like, I need to wear my tefillin. I need to wear, I don't like to borrow tefillin. I don't know anything. I want to have my tefillin. We have like this sentimental thing. I don't think it was like that in the Gemara. I think the culture of doing the mitzvahs was more like, just people had tefillin, which of course they used, but it didn't have a sentimental part to it, that it's my tefillin is any better than your tefillin, and I would only like to use mine. I think it was like hearing Kiddush on Shabbos afternoon. Like I have to make my own Kiddush. I can hear the rabbi's Kiddush or the guy standing next to me's Kiddush or something. It doesn't need to be my own. Friday night, people like to make their own, but Shabbos day, they just listen to someone's Kiddush.
But they also wore it all day long, right? In those days.
Yeah, probably. So what does that mean?
Somebody,
that make it worse?
So it might, if they weren't wearing it, so they might not need it then, right? It's not like, oh, they get up in the morning like, oh, where's my tefillin? They would have been wearing it all day long anyway. That's probably not their main one.
The fact that they're wearing it all day maybe means that they had two pairs. Is that what you think? Or they would switch it?
Because if they somehow, if they're losing one, what does that mean, right? If they're supposed to be wearing it all day and then all of a sudden it's on the street, and what are they doing? Yeah, exactly. They must have more than one pair.
Rabbi Naftali, that could answer the question.
Yeah, and that would indicate that they're inexpensive enough that somebody wouldn't have to run back for it.
Right.
And he has another pair.
Right.
Daniel uses real good moral logic. He's creating a fact scenario that makes this statement true.
Right. And very good.
What's the difference with this? That they say you put the money aside, and then the previous one, instead of
When it says that you put the money aside, that what the question is, are you allowed to use it as well? And what it really means is that you sell it right away and get the money right away. And then we have Machlekes Rabbi Kiva Tarfon yesterday, if you're allowed to use that money. Okay.
another verse that says that the person that found it puts the money aside and like where's it to fit?
Hillel's telling me an interesting comment. Hillel's saying that what the guy does is not that he sells the tefillin to someone else, but the guy takes money, puts it aside for the tefillin, and he wears them. The finder wears the tefillin right away. But then why would that be different than let him do that with the svarim? Something's funny. Okay.
Well, I guess the bottom line is that in the circumstances of life at that time, the statement makes sense.
Doesn't fit with what we're saying. Okay. I'm sorry, Rabbi Naftali.
I was just saying, like all these things that are hard to understand, it means that in the circumstances of life at that time, it makes
Right.
sense in a way that we don't understand.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Taner Rabbanan. Starting a Bryce Hashel Sefer Torah Mechaver. If someone borrows a Sefer Torah, can't re-lend it to someone else. Right? Borrower can't
do it with any object.
Very good. Yonatan asks, and the Gemara is going to ask, you can't do that with anything. We'll see in a second. You have to open it up and you can read from it. But you can't learn the topic the first time from this Sefer Torah. And you can't have someone else reading together with you. We said before that could cause it to tear. You pull it one side, he pulls it the other way, and then it just tears. The same as if someone gives a Sefer Torah to someone else to watch. You have to open it up once in 12 months. I wonder if the shuls do this. People take their Sefer Torah, they put it in the shul. The shul now has 10 Sefer Torah. They use one for Rosh Chodesh, they use one for Yom Tov, they use one for every day, Monday, Thursday, they use another one for Shabbos. They still have another 6 over there.
You should.
Huh?
They should.
They should.
You
They should have to open it up and roll it.
That's where I make the big bucks. No.
Yeah.
Because people who don't, the Torahs literally deteriorate triple fast,
Wow.
maybe faster than that. And you open up 10 years later, let's say that was not open, and it's just crumbled.
Wow.
And so what we're teaching all the time is you should actually roll a sefer, either at the best once every 30 days, at the worst once a year, but you should roll it, open it, and roll it through.
Wow.
So this is the source for it, but it's also a chemical source. It's chemically proven that the parchment needs it.
Wow.
Is it the exposure to the air, Moshe, or is it the
Yes.
movement?
No, it's the air.
It's the air is good for the papyrus, for the parchment.
Yeah. Well, parchment cloth. Yeah.
And does it affect the ink as well?
Yeah. That's where you find how that the letters turn brown and they crack and all of that. It's because lack of air.
So when you say it gets ruined, it's the letters and the parchment,
Everything.
everything.
Well, because the ink is connected with the cloth. So as soon as the cloth starts to dry out, so do the letters on it.
Uh-huh.
We learn halachas.
Probably. Okay, so it says that you have to roll it once every 12 months. You open it up and you read from it. But if he opens it up just to read it for himself, that's usher. No, he's not supposed to be using this item for himself. It was deposited for him for safekeeping. That doesn't mean he's a borrower. He's watching it, but so he's not supposed to open it for himself, but he's supposed to open it for its own benefit. Simcha says a new Sefer Torah once in 30 days. Biyashan, an older one, could be a once in 12 months. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says whether this, whether that is 12 months. In our Mishnah, we said it's once in 30 days. We'll see that we're going to adjust Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov's opinion shortly. Amar Mar, the master taught. We had in this, I think it divides it up into five sections of the Brisa that was quoted in this Tanur Rabbanan. So we start with Hashel Sefer Torah Mechaverai. Number one, the Brisa opens up with, if someone borrows a Sefer Torah from his friend, he should not lend it to someone else. Gemara asks, and Yonatan, my area Sefer Torah feel call milinami. Why specifically does it have to tell me about a Sefer Torah? You can't lend anything to someone else. If you borrowed it, the guy lent it to you, not to someone else. Reb Shimon ben Lakish says, Kanchan Rebbe, you have a statement from Reb Shimon ben Lakish. It says Rebbe taught that a borrower is not allowed to lend and a renter is not allowed to rent it out.
So sublease.
The sublease. Gemara answers Sefer Torah Tzrichalei. The Chiddush is by the Sefer Torah. Why? Because I could have thought that even though I know that you're not allowed to lend anything out because you borrowed it, you can't sublease it. But by a Sefer Torah, I could have thought you're allowed to because maybe the original owner wants to do a mitzvah and to let someone else use the Sefer Torah to learn, like by a talis, by tefillin. A person would want that someone should do a mitzvah with his money. Kamash Malan, that when it comes to borrowing scrolls, the answer is no. You don't let other people. Today, I remember when learning this Gemara in Yeshiva, my friend said, today would be just the opposite. If I have a sefer on the table, I don't mind if someone reads from it. But if someone uses my tefillin, I would want him to ask me first. Even though the Gemara says that no, you're allowed to use someone's tefillin without permission, as long as you put it back and whatever, you don't take it away. But it seems that from our own culture, it would work the other way. And over here, it's like, oh my gosh, you can't use anyone's. You walk into a shul and you see a siddur there, and there's a name in it. According to this, you can't use it. Even though we don't say that. You don't have permission, according to this.
Well, we have the local minhag overriding it. In the yeshiva, it's generally known that you just.
That's right. The minhag of walking into a shul and saying a name in a siddur. Yeah, I would use it. Whatever, the guy left it. Yeah, it's good. It's part of the shul. Okay, next discussion. It's good. Yeah. Uh-huh.
People just, if they see a pencil or a pen, they don't just grab it, they ask.
That I understand. When you walk into a shul though, and there's a siddur on the shelf, and you take it, and instead of having the shul sticker on inside the front cover, it says Avram something, whatever. People just do it. It's on the shelf. It's on the shelf. Okay. It says place chayv. This is the second discussion of the brisa. It says you open it up and you read from it. Pshita. Well, my We're talking about someone that borrowed it. right? That's how it started. Hashoyel, talking about the borrower, not talking about deposit. So it says he borrowed it. Oh, my Shalimani, why did he borrow it if he wasn't expected to open it up and read it? Seifetz Shichale. Gemara says that this was necessary to tell me the second part. Of course, he's allowed to read it, but wanted to tell me that you read from it the first time. That's a chiddush. You spend too much time the first time reading it, and it gets much more worn when you read it the first time. In the yeshiva, there's people that destroy their svarim when they use them, and the people that keep them clean. And there's a clear divide down the middle. Some of the svarim, you could divide the whole share in half. Totally destroyed gemaras, and the guy said the gemaras is still clean.
But they write in it.
Well, it's more than writing in it. A lot of guys write in it, but it's neat. And the other, it's just destroyed. The whole everything is coming off the binding and the thing. They do something to it. They do something to the way they handle it. It's like binding. Okay, so the first time is a problem because it's too much use, and that's the chiddush that you should not read from it the first time. Okay, now the third discussion of this price. If someone deposits Sefer Torah by his friend, you have to roll it every 12 months. He opens it and he reads from it. What do you mean he's reading from it? This was deposited by him. He shouldn't be reading from it. And another thing is, in Bishvilai, Paschai, Aser. If he opens it for himself, then it's forbidden to read from it. But you said before that you open it and you do read from it. So it seems to be contradictory here. When you have a Sefer Torah deposited, do you open it and read from it, or you're not allowed to? So the Gemara explains what the Brisa means. What it means to say is that you have to open it and roll it. And if while you're rolling it, you want to read from it, then that's acceptable. But if you open it for yourself, just for reading, that's prohibited. So while you're rolling it, you're allowed to read from it. But just to open it to read from it, that's prohibited because of what you're not a borrower, you're just a watchman. Okay. Fourth discussion of the Brisa. Sumchas divides it up into new Sifrei Torah, which need to be or new Svarim need to be rolled once in 30 days, and older ones it's once in 12 months. 30 days or 12 months, depending on the age of the scroll. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says, Rabbi Yaakov says, both this and this is 12 months. You only have to roll in 12 months, even with a new one. The Gemara asks, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, that was our first opinion. Our first opinion said once in 12 months. Sumchas was the one that introduced us once in 30 days if it's new. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says once in 12 months. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov is the first opinion. What's Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov saying different than what we said before? Rather, we have to adjust it and say, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says whether it's new or whether it's old, it's once in 30 days. Now, when you look in our Mishnah, that's what our Mishnah meant when it says, if you find a scroll, you read from it once in 30 days. That's the opinion of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, the way the Gemara adjusts Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Yeah, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, the Gemara tells us is Mishnasi Kavanaki. He doesn't say a lot of things, but what he says is usually accepted. I don't know if that's the case. Yeah, that is the case. Yeah.
So is this watchman like taking upon himself that he's going to do this? He watches the Torah, and if he doesn't do it, like, what do you have to pay?
Yeah, that would be considered negligent. They probably have a similar thing with a car or any sort of machine. Every once in a while, you got to turn it on, right? Your motorcycle, Naftali, or you drive it every day? How long can you leave it?
Not long. The lines begin to get brittle and the fluids can start to go bad,
right,
and the tires get messed up if you just let it sit.
Uh-huh. So do you have every Rosh Chodesh? Yeah.
Well,
To have it on the calendar, right? Else you'll forget.
Yeah.
Okay.
In based on Afton and Miami Beach, they actually have a calendar rotation for the Sefer Torah.
Oh, really?
Monday, Tuesday, this family is whatever. There's literally a rotation every month, and for the whole for each week, and if it's a whatever,
Well, oh, it's important. Well, it's
So,
interesting. I didn't
Comment,
realize
what's done in Beis Menachem?
they have every week they have a on the calendar whose families which Sefer Torahs they're going to be rolling.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a nice one.
Okay. Right. Where are we holding here? We're holding by Simchas. We finished Simchas. We finished Rabbi Yaakov. You can't use it for your first learning of the topic, and someone else shouldn't be reading with you with this. For a minute, we have a contradiction. Don't read a section twice, and don't read a section and translate. And don't open it up more than 3 columns. That would be, could tear like that. Here's our problem. And you shouldn't have 3 people reading from one section. But you're allowed to have 2 people. Now, it doesn't say you're allowed to have 2. It says you don't have 3. One understands if you said 3, then probably you're allowed 2. Yeah.
Why we have 4?
Really only have 2 people reading from it. That's interesting. Well, Amar Abaya says like Kasha. Depends. If they're reading from the same place, then you shouldn't have 2 people reading from it. If they're reading from different places, then they can read their thing and they don't have to schlep it. Because they can see they roll it down the table. He's reading from Bereshis, he's reading from Vayikra. And each one is comfortable with the part that he's there. He doesn't have to pull it to the side because he's the only one standing there in the scroll. Now, that's the opinion of the Rush. The Rambam has it exactly the opposite. The Rambam says that if it's in one topic, then they're allowed to read together. It's in 2 topics that's the problem. Here, it can go both ways. This Gemara. Yeah, the Gra points that out. Matzaksus. If you find the garment, you have to shake it out once in 30 days. Malila, but it seems to say is that shaking it out is beneficial for the clothing. But Rabbi Yochanan says that if someone has a weaver, a professional weaver in his house, so he can shake out his clothing every day, which means basically that they're going to get worn out. Don't worry, you have a weaver in the house. I mean, it sounds like it's not a good thing to shake out the clothing. Amri b'chol yom kashila. So the answer like this: every day, you're right, is problematic. Echad l'shleishim yom malila, but once in 30 days is acceptable. It's all depends how often, right? Depends on the amount. Iba yisema like kasha. You can say there's no problem. Habachad habitray. It depends how you're shaking it. If it's one person that's shaking it, that's fine. But if 2 people are shaking it, one person takes one end, other takes the other end, and they start to shake it. So that is going to be too much strain on the talis, on the garment. If you want, you can give another test. Like kashabi other bechutra. Depends how you're shaking it out. If you're shaking out by hand or if you're using a stick to beat it. That's going to wear it down. Another teretz says it depends if it's wool or if it's linen. Now, Rashi tells us that for the wool, it's not good, and for the linen, it is good. And the Rambam have it the opposite way. That for the linen, it's good, and for the wool, it's not good. Could be different types of wool, depending on which country they come from. European wool, Egyptian wool, maybe. Egypt had flax, so the Rambam, they probably had good flax. So they for them it was stronger. That's why the Rambam is saying that for flax it's okay. Rabbi Yochanan says, Kisa de Charshin, like Kisa de Paishin. Says it's better to have a cup that witchcraft was done to it than to drink a cup of lukewarm water. And that's only if the water was sitting in a metal utensil. But if it was in an earthenware vessel, that doesn't matter. You can drink lukewarm water.
Overnight.
It doesn't overnight. Maybe it means overnight. I'm not sure. In klimateches, any notes over there if it's referring to overnight?
So it's less dangerous to drink a cup of bread by sorcerers than to drink a cup of lukewarm water.
In the night, snakes could come.
There was another concept of water that's left open. That's another discussion. Yeah, gully, right? This is something else. It doesn't say it's open. It says it could be closed. The klimateches namilam are no leitzavitz. Also, when we said that there's a problem with metal, that's only if it wasn't boiled. Tzavitz lesson, but if the water's boiled, then that's not a problem. And even when we said that it's a problem because it's not boiled and it's in metal, that's only that's only if you didn't throw in a little piece of wood, grass or something, or what does it say?
It's flavoring.
Flavoring. But if there's tea, some sort of flavoring, it's not a problem. Maybe this is the source for the tea. Naftali, does your book have this? The history of the world with tea or something?
Yes, it's one of the 6 drinks that changed the world.
Yeah.
Because the British developed such a love for tea that it drove the development of shipping commerce around the world.
Yeah. And apparently it's good for lukewarm water also. You can drink lukewarm water in a metal vessel if you put some tea leaves in it. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishin Yechleyav of Ma'is so we're surprised about this Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan says, someone that his father left him a lot of money, very and he wants to destroy it, wants to get rid of it. I can't figure out this guy. Strange fellow. But what should he do? Yilbash bigdei pishtan. He should wear flax, the linen clothing. I guess it tears easy. Yishtamish b'klis chukas. He should use glass vessels. Yiskar paylim. He should hire workers while yeshivim, and he shouldn't watch them. Yilbash bigdei pishtan. When it says he should wear linen, that's because Neramaisa, that's this Roman, Italian linen that probably tears easy. It's expensive and it also gets worn out. You should use glass vessels. Talking about this white crystal. Shahai work does not sit with him. Targuma, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the workers that work the oxen, that if they mess up, they'll destroy the trees, the grapevines that are there when they plow. So it's like those machinery, those big machinery, they can do a lot of damage if you don't use them properly. Those the big diggers and everything.
Backhoes.
Yeah, backhoes. Right. Okay. When I was learning this Gemara in 4th, 5th grade, what my teacher said was that what Rabbi Yochanan means to say is what not to do. Because over here it's saying that if you want to lose your money, so you do this. Obviously, telling you don't do this if you want to keep your money. That's just the pshat. But there could be other pshatim. Why you're saying it in such a strange way? What does it say there?
No, it's that he meant it as a note of caution.
Oh.
That one should not become accustomed to conduct himself in these ways, because these indulgences will quickly cost him his fortune.
Very good. Yeah, I when I was in 5th grade, it was before art school. He didn't have a art school started in the. I was it 85 maybe or something. They didn't have Gemaras back then.
Today it might be like, buying these expensive cars.
Right. You lose that right when you drive out of the lot, it loses its value. Okay. So You're allowed to spread it out for its own good, but not for, but now we're back in the Mishnah. If you find the garment, spread out for its own good, but not for your own honor. They have a question. Let's say you're doing it for two reasons. There's always other interesting motivations that get mixed in. This is not purely for its good, but it's for both of your good. You haven't spread it out in a while, and also some guests are coming, and you would like to look nice, and you're gonna hang this up. It's very colorful. So Tashima, come and listen. You're allowed to spread out for its good. It only says for its good. It doesn't say for your good and for its good. So that would obviously be prohibited. It's only for the motive is pure. Let's go say the end. But not for your own honor. For your own honor, not. But let's say if it's for its benefit and for your benefit, shapadami, then it would be acceptable. So we call diukim saisrim. What the implication from the ratio is one way, the implication from the seif is the opposite. That's contradictory. We can't learn from this because this is obviously not being specific. We should be medayik, because if we're going to be medayik here, then we're going to end up with the contradiction. Tashma. So come and listen. Don't spread it out on a bed or on top of a mugad is a wooden peg. Litzarkai. For his good. We're talking about the person's own good, not for the benefit of the garment. But you can spread it out on the bed for its own good. Let's say guests come. If there are guests there, then you can't spread it out even for its own good. So we're seeing very clearly that both for both benefits is a problem. Like my answer is that's not true because Shani Hasam Demikla Kalila, because then when there are guests there, then that's a different story. We didn't mean that before when we said for your own good and for his good. We weren't necessarily referring to guests. We were talking about that he wants to use it, he wants to see it, he wants to have some benefit from it, but maybe warm himself. But when there are guests over, that's a different story. Imishamena could be because of ayin hara, people are going to look at it, and then that's not going to be good. Imisham ganvi, or maybe people will steal it. Very precious things. You don't want to let people know that you have that. Okay, Tashema. Come and listen. Ichnisa l'Ravka. This is talking about Egla Rufa. And I wrote something here. I can't read what I wrote. I wrote it in the car. I wasn't driving. Yeah. So, how do they translate Ravka? Is it a yoke? Is that just a yoke? Yeah. How do they say? A harness. Okay, same concept. If they bring it in vidasha and it starts to do threshing, threshing means it tramples the grain that's on the floor. Kshera, this is still acceptable. The egla rufa, which is a calf that's used when someone is found dead between cities, they have to bring a calf, and the elders of the city say, our hands did not spill this blood, and but that calf cannot be something that did work. Over here, when you brought it into this thing and you put this harness on it, and if you didn't have in mind for it to do work, but it just happened to do work, then that's kosher, still kosher. You didn't mess it up yet. But if you wanted to nurse over there because it was young, and you wanted it it's a calf, right? And also to thresh, then psula, that's a problem. Why did you bring it in? For its good and for your good. What we're getting from this is we're seeing that when you have a double motivation, it's still considered the worst way. And we're saying that that's a problem. The double motivation for its good and for your good it's a ktani psula. So we should say the same thing by us, that litzarkaya is going to be possible, is going to be prohibited. Gemara says Shani Hasam Damarka Shali Uvad Ba Mikal Makin. No, over there it's different. I have a pasuk that says that work was not done with it. So there, and if work was done with it, then it's going to be a problematic. If that's the case of filtration nami, so why did we say if it does work? We said if it threshes, it's kosher. You see, there's a little bit of a contradiction here. You bring it into the yoke, to the harness, and it threshes, it's kosher. If you bring it into nurse and it threshes, it's puzzle. But both of them are threshed. So the Gemara says, Holei damya. You can't compare it. You have to compare it to what it says in the Mishnah. Let's say a bird goes and rests on it. Oh, it did work. It carried a bird, but it's still kosher. But if a male went on it, so this is talking about, we switched now to the Mishnah that's talking about a paraduma, but it's the same concept. If a male comes on it, and we learned that even though it says that it doesn't do work, it wasn't a yoke. There's a problem with the yoke. Sula. But the Zachar, if a male goes on, it's also possible. My time out, so what's the reason? What's the reason why we're making this distinction that if a bird versus a male? Rav Papa, the difference is like Rav Papa says, Dam Rav Papa, Iksiv Uvad, Vikarinan Uvad, if it would say work was done, that's like a past tense, right? Uvad, passive. Work was done. Sahava mina fila memela, then I would have understood that even if work was done and you weren't involved in it. Because of Avad, Vikarinan Avad, but if it was active, where it says that you should not do work, and then we would read it to do work. I would say that he would have to do the work with it. But now, if you look at the spelling of this word, it says ayin beis dalid, which is without the vowels there. I would read it as avad, but there are vowels there, and the vowels tell me that I have to read it uvad. So avad is an active, and uvad is a passive. Active means that the person himself is doing the work, is having the work, getting this animal to do the work. And passive would mean that that he was not involved; it just did work on its own, without the owner's involvement.
In this case, the owner would have benefit.
Yeah, but without that, with just 1 second. So what we need now is be'inan uvad dumya da avad. We need that the work gets done similar to a way where he was the one that was doing the work with it. Ma avad denichale, just like when he does the work, obviously he appreciates it and he enjoys that. Afuva denichale, also when the work is done, it has to be something that he was happy about. So if it's work that he benefited from, that he was happy about, so then that's problematic, even if he wasn't involved in it, even if it did it on its own. But if it's work that he doesn't gain anything from, he wasn't involved in, like for example, the bird that rested on it, so that's still going to be acceptable. I wonder what it says about the Ravka. Let me see. One joined the calf with a team of cows in a multiple harness, intending for the calf to suckle from its mother while it is there. Vidasha, and while it was harnessed, it threshed some grain beneath its feet. So that was all passive. And in the first case, the owner placed the calf in the harness with the sole intent that it nursed from its mother while there. He did not intend also for it to thresh grain during this time. Tana thus rules that the fact that the calf indeed threshed while nursing does not disqualify it to be an egla rufa. In the second case, however, the owner placed the calf in the harness for a dual purpose. He wished it to nurse from its mother, but he also hoped that it would assist the other cows in threshing. In this case, Tana rules that it becomes disqualified. Okay.
The word Rafka is related to the name Rivka.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looks so similar.
Because Rivka also means cattle, right? I think.
In the art scroll, it's pronounced Rivka.
Oh yeah, is that what it says? I didn't even notice that. Anissa Larivka. You're right. What's their vowels in the Koran? Let me see it. Echnisa l'ravaka. Yeah. The Koran, I think, is better with the vowels. Our school's still a little yeshivish. Okay, kli kesef kli nechoshes, mishtamish b'em chulu. If it's silver or copper, you could use it with what did it say? For it's good, but not to wear it out. Tanarabanan, Sadan and Brisa. Someone finds a wooden vessel. But you have to use it so it doesn't rot. Clean if you find a copper vessel. You can use it with hot water, but you can't put it on the fire. For sure, you can use it for cold water. Because if you put it on the fire, it wears it down. Kli kesef, if it's silver, you can use it as a becher. But with cold, but you can't use it for hot because it causes it to tarnish. A great face for kadumais, axes and hatchets. I don't know exactly, different types of tools.
Rakes.
Shovels. Shovel. The first one.
Rakes. The first one.
Yeah, rakes, and the second one is axe. You can use it for soft things, but not for hard things. Because it wears down the blade. If it's gold or glass, that you don't use at all. The same thing we're talking about here is when it comes to a lost object, the same thing would apply to a deposit. What do you mean a deposit? Why by a deposit would we even suggest that the person would use it at all? The owner could come and use it if he wants to. We're talking about where the owner's not here. And so he's the one that's going to have to be using. We're thinking like, if the owner's concerned that it shouldn't get worn out, let him come by the house and so no, the owner's not here. So this guy needs to take over to do what would benefit it. Okay. What happens if someone finds something that's not respectable for him to move around in front of everyone?
Would it be like an idol?
I don't know about the idol, but I was thinking more like what they told me in yeshiva when we learned this in 5th grade. My teacher said, this was in Yeshiva Spring Valley. My teacher said that Rabbi Heinemann was a very handy type of person from Baltimore, very handy. So he said that he fixes his own car, he climbs under and he does. But they told him that it's not respectable, the rabbi of the city, to do this. So he drives his car somehow into his living room, and he does it over there when no one sees him. I don't know how he gets the car inside. It has a garage. That's what it is. The garage. Oh yeah.
Somebody came up, because it was in his yard.
Right.
Somehow they didn't know it was Rabbi Lehrfield. They were treating him like the landscaper or something. They noticed the house. I believe it was the rabbi.
No other Hasidim, the Rav would eat and everyone else was watching. It's called tish.
Have to take you to Israel and go around to the different tish, and you'll get a good. Were you in Israel?
It's been a long time. But
Yeah, we have to do that sort of trip to go look at the different rebbes and see that. Yeah, it's very interesting.
So someone that is at that level, they're exempt from the halacha.
Exactly. Yeah, you're gonna see why. It says Minani Mili. Okay, where do we know this from? Tanar Rabbanan. It was taught in the Brisa. The pasuk says, "Lest you think that you could turn away from it, you can't turn away from it." Right? Something like that. How does it say it in the verse? It says "V'salamta," and you will turn away from it. Right. You should hide from it. You should hide from them. Okay. So pam shatim misalim, pam shiatim misalim. The fact that he used that expression, shalom, maybe can you get me that chumash? You see on there's like a blue. There's a bunch of white things, white svarim, and then right next to it is this blue. Okay. Thank you.
22:1.
Yeah, 22. So here it says, you shall not see. You shall not watch your brother's ox or sheep straying and turn a blind eye. You should return them to your brother. So the fact that it says and turn a blind eye sounds like you turn a blind eye. That you shall not is what the verse means. You shall not, but it also says turn a blind eye. So the Gemara says, "Oh, turn a blind eye." Okay, that means sometimes you have to turn a blind eye. Then when do you do that? So. Okay, it said, how does that happen? Of course, let's say the person that's walking by is a kayan and the lost object is in a cemetery. Let's say he's a zaken, I think means a sage, not an older person. Yeah, let's say he's a sage. That's the first case. Second case, he's a sage, and it's not honorable for him. Or he's losing more money. Then this guy needs this item. Then this item is worth. In such a case, you should turn away from it. This is which one was the pasuk necessary to tell me? This is very interesting. If the pasuk was coming to teach me about the kayan, and he's in the cemetery, shita. This is so obvious. I don't need a pasuk to tell me this. That the kayan doesn't go into the cemetery to take it. I have a positive command to return it. And I have a negative command that the kayan should not become tamei. And I also have a positive command that the kayan should stay holy. So the positive command is not going to push off another positive and a negative. So I would know already on my own that the kayan should not go into the cemetery to take out a lost object that's there. And another question is, I would never say that because of someone's finances, we should violate a ritual law. So it must be that when he is losing more money than this item is worth, then he should not return it, because when he says, "Look, I lost money, return it," you have to pay me. And that you cause the guy a debt by returning his item. That I would know from Rav Huna Marav. The Rav Yudah Marav pasuk says, "Efes only lo yebachavyin." There should not be a poor person amongst you. That which means don't bring yourself to poverty. I guess that means that the guy's not going to pay him. The guy's not going to pay him for his loss. You don't have to make yourself lose money. Not that he's going to have to pay him, but that you don't have to make yourself poor because you're doing this mitzvah of returning lost object. Ella rather we're talking about a person that's an honorable person, and it's not respectful for him to go and return it. Amar Rava says ikisha. But if he hits the animal in order to work, to move, then chayiva, then now he became obligated to return it. He didn't have to stop and to do anything to it, but once you do, you become obligated. Abaye Yosef Kamedu Rabba. Abaye was sitting in front of Rabba. Rabba was the teacher. He sees these goats. Shakal kala shadabu. He took a clod of dirt and threw it at it. Rabbi told him, "Okay, you're now chayiv to return it. You made it move, so now you get up and return it. You didn't have to, but you threw the cloud of dirt at it, so now you have to." Let's say it would be okay for this person to do the work in the field, but not in the city. So, do we say now you have to return it all the way? He's exempt because once he gets to the city, he's going to be ashamed to be carrying this. Do we say in the field, no one's watching you, you could do this work. Even the since he's chayiv in the sada, so then he would be chayiv in the city as well, because the obligation started already. So you should have to finish it. Umar says teku to that question. Okay, let's leave it right there.
Thank you.
Okay.